Raindrops falling on the street. I can't recall when I last saw the sun. Summer's just a memory, a faded piece of history.
It's time for another episode of the Woah Show, powered by Great Lakes Speed Shop. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors that make everything happen for Woah Nelly. First and foremost, Great Lakes Speed Shop. They make this podcast happen. Make sure you see Bud Watson and the gang over there in Ohio. They are near Raceway 7, one of our favorite stomping grounds when we are not at our home tracks. Specialize in modifieds, late models, racing parts in general. They'll get you going fast. There's a lot of different places you can go in this area for parts and service, and them speed of secrets, if you will. And Bud is one of them. I'd also like to thank Close Racing Supply. Some of the best parts in the area you can get, whether it's one of the many manufacturers that they supply parts from, or also their own parts. Make sure you visit them all race season long. It is a long season and you're going to wad stuff up sooner or later, so make sure you get some of the best in the business from Close Racing Supply. Martin Dynamics is another sponsor. They just returned to us this year. They were a sponsor when we first started having sponsors, and then there was a little break, but we're back now with Martin Dynamics. They provide suspension for a lot of the fast guys in the area, man. There's a lot of feature winners coming out of the Martin Dynamics camp. I'm just a guy that takes photos, but I know suspension's what wins races. So if you're looking for some of the best shock packages in the game, make sure you check out Martin Dynamics. And last but not least, we saved the best for last. Our favorite people, Carpy's Print Company. They supply all of the checks, the designs for the checks, our t-shirts. They do hats, some of the baddest wraps on the planet. They do RC wraps. Zane Harvey's one of them. Great wrap. Woah Nelly production driver Kaden Bush. That's where she gets all of her wraps, her merch, and she has one of the best looking go-kart wraps in the game. We're biased. My face is on the side, but of course, check out them for all of your print services. They do everything. They designed our logo. I can't say enough good things about them. And of course, the most important part about Carpy's, their hats are fantastic. I've got a big head. It's not because there's a big brain in there. There's just a lot of space up there. And they fit perfect every single time out of the box. So make sure you support all of our sponsors that make it happen. Without them, this doesn't happen. They really do a lot for us. So let's get to the Woah Show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Woah Show. I know it's been far and few between, just like how we've been struggling to get some races in. Honestly, it's been hard between getting all the rainouts and getting people organized last couple weeks, but we have probably one of my favorite people in the racing industry. I can't say enough about our guest this week. He does a lot, whether it be the media side or his race, and we're going to talk about that for the Connor's race here in a moment. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Derek, how's it going?
Good, brother. How you been?
Oh, yeah, kind of angry at Mother Nature lately, but I think that's all of us playing the forecast game. Heading into this weekend, it's another one of those will we, won't we situations. So
yeah, it's been very frustrating. I was thinking about that. I think my first race was in March, and I've only had 5 so far, and it's May, so that's just not right.
Yeah, we've been struggling up here. I haven't traveled as much as I usually have, but hopefully this weekend we'll get back on track. So let's not talk about this weekend. Let's talk about next weekend. The World of Outlaws are coming to town, Marion Center, and it's probably, and I'll give a little bit about, this race is, the Connor's race is actually one of the first big late model races that I've been to before I even know who Derek, well, I knew who Derek was. I didn't know him personally yet. It was the first race that I ever went to. I think it was a ULMS race at the time, and then it involved from Thunder Mountain to Marion Center, and I'm sure the history all behind that. So let's talk about next weekend. Let's talk about Connor. I'm sure that you've talked a lot about this race in the many years that you've been running it, but for everybody who doesn't know, tell us the entire story.
Sure, absolutely. Well, my 5-year-old son Connor was diagnosed with brain cancer back in 2010, and we were basically told we had less than a year for him to live, and he passed away in February of 2011. And I wanted to do something to remember him by, or to continue keeping his memory alive, and a race was the obvious thing because it's what I love to do. It's my passion. So at the time I went to Jim Mickney, who was the owner of Dog Hollow, and I asked him if we could have a memorial race, and he said absolutely. So that's what got the ball started, and then we decided we wanted to do something more than just a race. So we thought let's do something for Make-A-Wish, because Connor got to go to Disney World through Make-A-Wish, and it was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely the best possible thing you could ask for, and we wanted to do something like that. So we decided to do a basket auction. We said we'll do it the day of the race, see if we can get some donations, and pick all the tickets that day and give all of the prizes that night. And we did, and it was a learning experience. The first one, we were pretty overwhelmed, to say the least, but as the years went by, we got better at it. And I think we did the basket raffle for we were 10 years, and then we decided that was just enough of doing the basket raffle part of it. But we obviously still wanted to do the race, so we continue the race, and now we do a T-shirt, and we have the drivers go through the stands at intermission with their helmets, giving donations to Make-A-Wish. So we're still giving to Make-A-Wish every year, and I'm happy to say in the previous 13 years we've done this, we've raised over $100,000 for Make-A-Wish. So it's just been incredible, and it's gotten to the point where it really is one of the premier events in the area, and that's what makes me so proud. And then just getting the World of Outlaws involved now is just it's a feather in our cap now, because this year by far will be the biggest race that we've had, as far as what we're giving out for a purse that Marion Center's doing. It is by far the biggest race we've had in the 14 years that we've done this.
Yeah, it's definitely one that gets circled on the calendars, whether it was at Thunder Mountain, whether it's at Marion Center, whether it was at Dog Hollow. I wasn't around during those times, but when it was at Thunder Mountain, when I first started getting into racing just a little bit, people were like, go to Thunder Mountain. And then it was Connor's race, and I was like, whoa. And I think it was a great race. I've seen so many races since that it's hard to remember. I wish I had the memory of like a guy like JP, who just like off the top of his head could be like an encyclopedia about racing.
Yeah.
But definitely is. I mark it down as one of the crown jewel events in the area. It's a must watch. It doesn't matter what's on the schedule. I always clear on Saturday. Next Saturday, State Line, gonna have to go with the with my crew. I'm gonna be coming down there, so it'll be a great time. With all the different people involved, something to say, there has been no repeat winner.
There has not. You're right. We've had 13 different winners of the race, so that's something we're proud of. And I think what makes it even more special, I mean, let's face it, there's tons of memorial races for people, but to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of memorial races for youngsters, and I think that makes it special in itself. And I've had several drivers say to me that this was one of the races that they wanted to win. And I think that, we do the big check every year, we have Connor's face on there. And I think that means as much as the money that these drivers get.
Yeah, and I feel even when I know that we stood on the infield, one of them where we were iffy about the weather, it might have been at Marion Center, and we watched the clouds part over. And Marion Center is, I love the place, but when the Outlaws are in town, it is packed to the brim. I think they're parked in the next town over to get to this place.
Yeah.
And I think last year they had the record for late models at Marion Center. It was like 57 or 60.
Yeah, I think it was around 50. I think it was around 57 was their largest late model count ever in the history of the track, and that dates back to the 60s. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I just started getting into promoting races. Nothing as amazing and cool as your race. Somehow I accidentally tripped into falling into this, and a lot of people don't know how much work goes in, behind the scenes. And it's not like you're not a busy fella during the race weekend. You're doing 2 nights of racing a week. It's so how much behind the scenes do you do to, whether it be promoting or working with Marion Center? What all goes into your end to keep organizing this?
To be honest with you, it's been a lot easier the last 3 years because of it being an outlaw race. The outlaw race itself kind of promotes the event now, as far as people saying, oh my God, there's an outlaw race. And on top of that, it's the Connor Bobik Memorial, and, my biggest thing is obviously with social media, promoting like crazy on social media. I mean, I've been doing a countdown of each winner that we've had in there. Aaron at Marion Center's done a phenomenal job with promoting the event, with flyers and things like that, but it's really the last couple of years, it's been kind of easy, which is kind of nice. I mean, it allows me to want to continue doing it, because when we did the auction, that was a year-long process, because you pretty much, got money, you got items year round, and you just tried to say, any and everything, go ahead, meet people in certain locations, meet them at a truck stop, meet them at a track to get the things, and then having the people to help run the auction, it was a lot of work, but now that we don't have that, it's actually been easier, which is good, because we're all we're getting old now, so it's kind of nice to have a little less worry. I mean, my stress level next week will be to the roof, one, because of the weather, two, we've gotten I think we have like 160 shirts to sell, and that makes me nervous too, I mean, because I'm sitting on 20 some $100 worth of shirts that I have to, at least make a profit, but I want to make more than, break even, because the money goes to Make-A-Wish. So you just, have that part of it. But in the long run, it all takes care of itself. I mean, my cousin Ryan, who's been involved from day one, he always gets on me because I worry so much, and he always tells me, don't worry, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And it always is, so the biggest thing right now is just, keep, promoting. But like I said, with it being a World of Outlaws race, that kind of helps the promotion part.
Yeah, hey, I don't think you're gonna have any problem selling this year's shirt. I love last year's shirt. It being orange and being able to wear it out on the tracks and stuff. But this year's, I'm a sucker for purple, obviously. Fantastic shirt. But let me tell you, and I'll relate to this experience. So I didn't have like a year-long process to do my last race. I had 3 weeks that I put it all together, and the week of, the nervousness of the weather. Are people gonna come? There are people going, I don't know. And then to watch everything pan out. I know, like last year, I was like, just, it's so nice to feel like a local place like Marion Center that is such a special place. There's a lot of special racetracks around here to a lot of people, but I think Marion Center being location wise, and who's been through there, and the moments. It's kind of really cool to be like, hey, this race is something. Look at all these guys that show up. It's always, yeah, it's just it's got to be nice to see all the eyeballs on your home track there for one
Oh,
night. So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's an event. I mean, it's not just a race, it's an absolute event. And I'm so happy for Marion Center and that because, let's face it, we're just, a small quarter-mile racetrack that, likes to run on Saturdays, and we get to be in the spotlight, we get to show it off, and people get to see some really good racing there, and hopefully they'll say, this was great. I'll be back to come again, and that's what you want.
So to pivot from Connor's race, which I hope everybody that's listening or seeing this, if you can make it, go. If you got a super in the garage, make the haul down. It is well worth it. It's a great track, great surface. I've never been, I've never walked away from the place upset. And I know a lot of race car drivers that go, unless you wad it up, then you might be a little angry. But it's a great place to be. Here's some stuff that I've always wanted to ask you. I think a lot of the media people, there's a lot of the question of how'd you get started? How'd you get into this? And I mean, I feel like everybody's journey is different, but you've been around, you've probably seen more racetracks that are even open anymore. Things of that nature. You worked with the ULMS for a while, you give them back, now that you're tied down to your home tracks. But how'd you get us started? How did this all happen?
Well, I mean, the racing part of it was, we didn't grow up in a race family, but my dad, he enjoyed racing, and we started going to Clearfield Speedway, which became Central PA Speedway, which unfortunately is kind of open, but it's not open. But it was, that's where I started when I was like 7, 8 years old. And that's the first memories I can have of it. And then around 86, I was like 12 years old. We saw an ad in the local paper for McKean County. And I started going there. And once I went there for the first time, I was hooked with racing after that. As far as the photography part, I've always loved photography. I mean, from day one, I've always had a camera. And once we went digital, like everybody else, I said, I'm going to get myself a kit, and to show my age, I bought the kit at Circuit City, which of course is no longer around, but I got a bundle. And what I first started doing was I'd go to the races and take pictures in the grandstands. I'd sit in the grandstands, and like McKean was a great place to do that because you didn't have really anything blocking you in front of you, with the new grandstands and that, so that's how I started. And I loved the racing to the point where I always had like Tri-State Auto Racing News or RPM Racing News. And one time I was reading RPM Racing News, and Dave Kitty, who owned it, had a write-up in there because at the time he was the announcer at Dog Hollow. And in his write-up, he said that they were looking for a track photographer. And I said to my wife, Diane, I said, I want to give this a shot because, I mean, Dog Hollow is like an hour and a half or so from my house, but it's only like 20 minutes from my mom's house. So it's kind of like, well, that would work out perfect because I could just stay at my mom's then. So I got in touch with Dave, and this would have been 2007, I believe. And I went there, and that was the first time I was ever in the infield taking pictures, and I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. I mean, the infield there was no comparison. I mean, absolutely just loved it, and that's how I started. And then through the RPM Racing News, I was able to travel then because because of Dave, and I got to basically tour the country. I mean, I've been, to East Bay, of course. I've been to the Dirt Track World Championships when they've had them at West Virginia Motor. I've had them when they were at Atomic, um, just all over the place. I've been down to Kentucky, I've been to Tennessee, and like I said, once I got the itch, and it was just, I just couldn't resist, and here I am, 17 years later, still doing it and still loving it, and um, a lot of money spent. You know how that goes. It's not a cheap sport.
It's a thankless job, and it pays about $0.
It pays nothing. I'll tell you what. When I first started, you actually made decent money, but then the cell phones got better, and then that pretty much wiped you out. I mean, and then of course, I shot in the digital age. I was never, I didn't shoot during the film days, but the stories I hear is the film people made tons of money because they were I mean, if you wanted a picture, that's how you were going to get it. You were going to get it from the photographer for the track, and yeah, it's definitely not that way anymore, and then of course myself, everybody calls me the oddball because I'm one of the few people that shoot Olympus. And the reason I shoot Olympus is the first bundle I bought was the Olympus camera, and ever since then I've been hooked on Olympus. And I mean, I've tried a Nikon, didn't like it at all, and I love the Olympus. And in fact, I just bought a new camera this off season, which hopefully will be my camera till I retire, which it's not going to be anytime soon. So hopefully I can get many years out of this camera, but I honestly don't think I've ever seen somebody else shoot Olympus at a racetrack, and I'm okay with that.
Well, it sets you apart. I mean, I know that a lot of people compare Nikon to Canon and, colors and all that, and it just adds to your different style. I know that I've been like, what even is that? I think that was when I looked at your camera the first time. I think that's what I said to you, just giving you shit about it.
Yeah.
Out of all these years that you've been doing photos, what's your favorite out of all these tracks? Your favorite to photograph, not like a sentimental place like McKean, because I know when they reopened, we got you up there, and that was so cool to share that infield with you and share those experiences. But, like your favorite, like this is I could go anywhere on this track. Like you were just, how we get the itch sometimes, where you start,
Yeah.
the angles are so good.
Probably, and it's more special now because of what's going to happen to it, but I'd probably say East Bay. Absolutely, just love the Winter Nationals. I was able to shoot the Winter Nationals 3 years, and it's something special about East Bay. I mean, I can't explain it if you haven't been there, and I'm heartbroken that this is the last year of East Bay, but it's just the nice part about East Bay is you're leaving the cold, miserable weather up here, and everybody's itching to start again. Everybody says the season's so long, but as well as I do, a month after the season's over, you're ready for it to start again. I mean, it's nice to have that little break, but East Bay's just so special, and I've seen some good races down there, and I mean, and the nice thing about East Bay is they only run late models. They don't run anything else during the Winter Nationals. So all you do is, you're shooting 50, 60, 70 late models, but you're done at a decent time. So you don't have to actually be at the track at 2:00 in the morning, so that was nice too. But that's probably the most special place that I've been to. Now the one place I've never been to that I got to get to someday is Eldora. I've never been to Eldora. I've never even seen the place, and I know one of these years I got to get there. Even if I just go up to watch a race, I still got to get to Eldora sometime.
When I shot Eldora, I did the back-to-back worlds. I spent, a week in Ohio almost. It was my first trip all by myself. I can't say all by myself. I think the last day or 2 days, Austin Hauser and Emily Hauser came down. They actually saved me. Great story about this. I lost my debit card at Eldora, and it was like the last day or two I think it was the last day. I had to Venmo them money to bring me like cash because I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get home? Oh, the experience. But that place, I will tell you, will make a man out of you as a photographer. You have to think different. It's so uptight and close. I know that I've gotten close calls a couple times at a couple of these different tracks. Especially, it's like shooting at Bradford, but if they were going like 120 miles an hour through the
Yeah.
corners. So
Yeah.
it's a great time. You gotta go. It is one of the very few places, and not just because of the event, but because of the place where you walk in and you're like, oh, this is a big deal. It's kind of the same way as I felt when I walked into the dome. You just get this feeling, this vibe,
Mm-hmm.
this is it. It's kind of like, and maybe kind of the spectacle worn off because I've been to Port Royal so many times. But when you walk into Port Royal, you look around and you see how it is, and you're just like, oh, this is like it. This
Yeah.
is the end all be all for niceness of facilities and all that great stuff. Hey, let's talk one more thing. Let's talk Derek as a fan. Out of all these years that you've shot, all the years watching racing, I know it's going to be hard to pick one, so pick a couple. Favorite drivers, the guys that you're like, oh man, I'm glad to be able to watch this guy tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I grew up. My favorite driver growing up was Jeff Hoffman, the Jeff Hoffman from Clarendon who ran the 32 late model, and I've been given an opportunity like to shoot him, because he's been racing crates, and I really that was my childhood favorite person was Jeff Hoffman, and getting to shoot him just made it that much better. Oh, I tell you what, Devin Freeze is definitely one of them. He won Connor's first race, and I became really good friends with his family after him winning that race, and I mean his family is so nice, and just he was a great ambassador to Connor's race, and he even the following year put a special wrap on his car with Connor's picture promoting the race at Dog Hollow, the second annual race, so he was, he's definitely one of my favorites there too, but a lot of it is the childhood people that I grew up watching, like Dick Barton. Loved, I was fortunate enough to be at State Line when he was put on their Wall of Fame. Him and I think Ron Davies both were the same night, and I was there, so I was able to take their pictures, and that's something that'll always be special to me. Todd Andrews, Bobby Close, most of the Smithport guys that I got to see growing up, getting a chance to take their picture was fantastic, and like it or not, being able to shoot Scott Bloomquist's last win at Thunder Mountain ranks up there pretty high too.
He's still grinding. I know he had that big accident.
Yeah.
But he might be close to getting another one. You might have to see if you can drag him back up here, try to get that back.
Exactly. You're
But
right.
Absolutely wild that was just right in our backyard.
Yes.
Especially at Thunder Mountain. Again, glad that place is opening up for at least one race this year. Before we go, I know I had that was my last question. I don't have any other questions, I don't think. Make sure you thank everybody that makes all this possible. We don't all do this all by ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. I mean, first off, we got, what we need to do is we need to thank these tracks for allowing us to come in there and shoot at them. I mean, obviously, we're a benefit because we help promote the tracks, but they can still say to us, forget it, and we're very fortunate to be allowed to do what we love and help these tracks out any way we can, because that's the key right now is we need to help these tracks because we can't afford to lose any more tracks. I mean, we've lost, you said earlier about, tracks that I've been to that aren't around anymore. And I bet you it's probably 10, 11 tracks that I've shot at that aren't around anymore, you know, and that's just, you know, we can't let that happen anymore. You know, we got to keep them here so that we can continue doing this, and, you know, the other generations can do it too.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait to see you next weekend. Maybe if weather, Mother Nature hates us up here some more, I'll see you this weekend. But thank you so much for coming on. If you guys are available, it is, was it the 18th? Sorry.
Yes.
Time has been flying by since I moved out of my hometown. It is the 18th, Marion Center. Don't miss it. Be there in person. There is nothing like partying on top of the hill in Marion Center with thousands of your best friends that you
Absolutely.
just met that day.
The thrill on the hill. That's what it is.
Thank you so much, Derek. See ya.
My pleasure, bud. Thanks for having me.
No one can remember all the fun. The late night barbecue.